Jersey Heritage Maritime Landscape Audio Tour, Chapter 4, La Corbière, St Brelard's Bay and St Aubin.
The southwest corner of the island, with its strong tides and currents and offshore rocks, had a fearsome reputation amongst sailors and was the scene of many shipwrecks. That may be why it's known as La Corbière, which means gathering place of the crows. Wreckers would light lanterns on the cliff tops around here to entice unwary sailors onto the Jailers Rocks or the Fruki, the twin-pointed rock just to the north, which the ferry St Malo struck in April 1995. One of the earliest recorded incidents was of a large Spanish ship wrecked off La Corbière in 1495, leaving the beaches strewn with barrels of sweet wine. The famous lighthouse was not actually completed until late 1873, following years of petitions and representations by the public, fishermen and other interested parties, although the light wasn't switched on until the following April. Designed by the harbour's engineer Sir John Cood and standing 500 yards from the shore, it was the first lighthouse in the world to be built from reinforced concrete rather than traditional stone blockwork, and its light could be seen for up to 18 miles. These days it is unmanned, although you can still walk across the causeway to take a closer look, but do pay heed to the state of the tide. To the side of the causeway, a carved stone commemorates the bravery of assistant lighthouse keeper Peter Le Balestier, who drowned in 1946 while trying to rescue a holidaymaker who had been cut off by the rising tide. From the lighthouse looking back to land, you will see a huge concrete tower that was built by the Germans during the occupation. In recent years, this has been converted into unusual holiday accommodation, giving stunning 360-degree views from the top of the tower. This is just one of the historic properties available to hire from Jersey Heritage.
Map reference H05.
In contrast to the dangerous rocks at the southwest tip of Jersey, St Brelard's Bay offered a safe mooring for mariners seeking shelter from the prevailing winds. With its gentle slope and golden sands, it has become a favourite with modern beachgoers, but customs records from 1810 show that the bay was also popular with smugglers. Large cargoes of brandy and gin were taken on at St Brelard's Bay to be landed secretly on the English coast. During the 17th and 18th centuries, the crews of the Jersey fishing fleet would attend communion at St Brelard's Church in the western corner of the bay before sailing 3,000 miles across the Atlantic to fish for cod off Newfoundland. They would be away for months at a time. At the height of the cod fishing industry in the 1770s, it is thought that between 60 and 70 Jersey vessels, manned by up to 2,000 Jersey men and boys, were involved in the trade. This number made up 10% of the entire population of the island. Some eventually settled in Newfoundland and Gaspé. An inscription in the cemetery there reads, "Beside the sea they built their homes, churches and schools, and from the sea they lived, and by the sea they rest." These days, the picturesque church is a popular venue for summer weddings, although back when there was just one daily sailing, couples would get married at 6 in the morning in order to catch the mail boat to England to start their honeymoon. Today, your wedding day is not only likely to be one of the best days of your life, but it's also likely to be one of the most frantic, at least in the run-up to the big day. So just thank your lucky stars that you don't have to get married at 6 in the morning.
What time is it?
It's 2 o'clock.
It's 2 o'clock? Why do we need to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Well, darling, there's lots of things to do. I've got to get my hair done. Mum's dropping the dress round. Then Lucy's coming to do my makeup, and Anna's going to do my nails, and Sarah's bringing the bridesmaids round in half an hour. Then Auntie May's on her way with the posies.
What am I going to do?
Darling, you've got to go and pick up all the buttonholes, remember? Now, don't forget, I want white carnations for Dad and Tommy and Uncle Mikey, and red for you and Steve. And then I want you to go down.
Map reference J05.
Another popular wedding venue is the church on the bulwarks at St Aubin, opposite the site of Jersey's first proper harbour. The harbour dates back to 1680, when the then governor, Sir Thomas Morgan, ordered a stone pier be built at St Aubin's fort. Until this time, even though St Aubin was the island's main port, ships were unloaded and loaded by carts at low tide. After the creation of this harbour, merchants began to make cellars to store their goods, and the king's scales, which were used to weigh all cargo being landed, were housed in the old courthouse, once the tallest building in the island. The old courthouse was also where the bounty seized by the privateers licensed to seek and destroy enemy merchant ships was shared out between the ship's master, his crew, and the Crown. I'm sure you can imagine some of the arguments that took place with the Crown agent back in those privateering days.
Now, gentlemen, what do you have for me? A little bit of gold?
No.
Silver?
No.
Copper?
No.
Some rum, perhaps?
No.
How about a few cases of tea?
No.
Or some tobacco? Oh, I could really do with some tobacco.
No.
Or maybe some wine?
No.
Or spices?
No.
Linen?
No.
Some of that pretty French lace?
No.
Perfume? Ah, the ladies would love some perfume.
No.
Or silk?
No.
Wool?
No.
What about molasses? Sugar? Wine? Sherry?
We've got some cod.
Cod?
It's salted cod.
Cod? Cod? I don't want cod. I've got cod coming out of my ears. I've got shoals of the stuff. Oh, I'm sick of the sight of it, the smell of it, the touch of it, and the taste of it. I don't care if it's salted, unsalted, frozen, fresh fried, farmed, forked, flaked, filleted, smoked, packed, iced, or steaming. What would I want with cod? I've got 5 warehouses full of cod. We're having cod for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. My brother Hector's even opened a shop to get rid of the stuff. Cod? Isn't there a ruddy boat out there not carrying cod?
These days, there is no local cod, although the island maintains an active and diverse fishery, as can be evidenced by the superb quality and quantity of different seafood in our local restaurants. Returning to the development of St Aubyn's Harbour, it has to be remembered that less than 300 years ago, the harbour facilities serving the town of St Helier were still very poor, and so cargo from larger vessels was unloaded at St Aubyn and transported by land the 3 miles into town. Work on the present harbour began in 1765 when a stone jetty was built on the southern side of St Aubyn near the old courthouse. At high tide, the pier was only accessible to horse-drawn vehicles by the steep hill that runs behind the row of merchants' houses that line the quay. However, access was improved in 1790 when the bulwarks were built in front of these houses, and the North Pier was added in 1819. Despite these developments, St Helier became the island's main port once the Chamber of Commerce finally persuaded the states to build a proper harbour in the 1780s. However, this was not before St Aubyn had profited from the trade that flowed through its port. The wealth generated by Newfoundland cod fishing returned to the island, and a number of grand houses were built on the proceeds. These are often referred to as cod houses, a fine example of which is Mont Plaisir, which stands a short distance from St Aubyn's village and overlooks the sweep of the bay. Today, St Aubyn's Bay is home to a multitude of water sports, including sailing, water skiing and windsurfing, while St Aubyn's Harbour boasts a splendid variety of stylish bars and restaurants. We do hope you have enjoyed this Jersey Heritage audio tour of the island's maritime landscape. Other audio tours are also available for you to download. Please see our website, jerseyheritage.org, for details. Thank you.